My girlfriend said, "I can walk away. Boys are begging for me." She expected me to panic. Instead, I replied, "Great, there's the exit." What started as another one of Tess's manipulation tactics became the moment I finally learned my worth. Her name was Emily, and for 2 years, she'd been the center of my world. A woman who could light up a room just by walking in, and burn it down if she felt disrespected. I'm Nathan, 26, living in a quiet apartment on the edge of Chicago. We met in college, fell in love fast, and even faster, we built a world around each other. But that night, the night of her outburst, it felt like that world was starting to collapse. She had been scrolling through her phone, laughing at some text from a guy in her gym group. I didn't say anything at first, but when I asked her gently who it was, she rolled her eyes, said I was being controlling, and that's when the argument began. I'd never seen her like that before. Her tone was cold, her posture sharp. She wasn't my Emily, the girl who used to send me sleepy texts at midnight or ask me to pick her up after class because she didn't like walking alone. She was someone else now, someone who wanted to prove a point. "I'm not your possession, Nathan," she continued, her voice breaking but her chin lifted. "You treat me like I owe you loyalty for breathing next to you. I don't." The silence after that was unbearable. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock above the couch, even the faint city traffic outside. Everything in the room felt tense, like the air itself was listening. I wanted to fight back, to remind her of everything we'd shared. The weekends we spent fixing the old car, the nights we stayed up talking about the future. But something inside told me to stop. Maybe because deep down, I realized that this wasn't just another argument. It was a revelation. She was testing the limits of us, and maybe she already knew how far she wanted to go. "Emily," I said softly, "I'm not trying to control you. I just don't want to lose what we have." She sighed, turned away, and grabbed her bag from the couch. "Then stop acting like you're about to." And with that, she left, not in anger, but in that quiet, purposeful way that hurts more than shouting ever could. When the door clicked shut, I stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space where she had been. My hands were shaking, though I didn't know if it was from fear or anger. I tried to convince myself that she just needed space, that we'd talk tomorrow, that she'd come back like always. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words. 5 guys would line up to replace you. Was that true? Or was it meant to wound me? I didn't know. All I knew was that something inside me broke a little. Over the next few days, she didn't text. No calls, no updates. Her social media was quiet except for one picture, a photo of her at a cafe, smiling faintly with a friend I didn't know. The caption said, "New beginnings are messy, but worth it." That line hit harder than I expected. I tried to distract myself with work, gym, friends, anything to keep my mind off her. But every place I went, I found her ghost. Her favorite coffee order at the cafe. Her perfume lingering on the jacket she left in my car. Even the songs on my playlist seemed to mock me. A week passed before she texted, "Can we talk?" Those 3 words made my chest tighten. I told her yes, of course, and we met that evening at the small park near the river, our old spot. The air was cold, and the trees were starting to lose their leaves. She showed up wearing the same brown coat I'd given her last Christmas, but her eyes looked different, distant, as if she were looking past me. "I didn't mean what I said," she murmured, not meeting my gaze. I was angry her apology sounded rehearsed. She spoke slowly, carefully, like someone trying not to reveal the truth behind her words. "I just needed space," she added. "You were suffocating me, Nate. I love you, but sometimes love feels like a cage." That last sentence stayed with me long after we left the park. I wanted to believe her, that it was just a fight, that things could go back to normal. But something in her tone, in the way she avoided my touch, told me that normal was gone. That night, when she hugged me goodbye, she lingered for only a second before stepping away. Her perfume, the soft jasmine scent she always wore, clung to my shirt. It was the only part of her that felt real anymore. As I watched her walk away under the streetlights, a part of me knew this wasn't the end of an argument. It was the beginning of a slow unraveling, one that neither of us was ready to face, and maybe that's what scared me the most. The days that followed felt like walking through fog. Everything looked familiar, but nothing felt the same. Emily and I still texted, but her messages had changed. They were shorter, colder, like she was replying out of obligation, not affection. I tried to tell myself she was just busy, that she needed time to figure things out, but deep down, I felt it, the distance. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional, like an invisible wall had grown between us overnight. One evening, I called her. She didn't answer. I tried again and again. Finally, she texted back, with friends. "Can we talk later?" It was past 10 p.m. I knew most of her friends, and I also knew she wasn't the type to hang out late unless something, or someone, was keeping her there. For the first time in our relationship, I felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. I wanted to trust her, but my instincts whispered otherwise. That night, I couldn't stop thinking. Her words, her tone, the way she'd been pulling away. It all formed a pattern I didn't want to admit. Around midnight, I grabbed my jacket and keys and drove to her apartment. I didn't have a plan. I just needed to see her, to know she was okay, or maybe to know if I was right. When I reached her building, the parking lot was almost empty. Her car was there, parked crookedly, like she'd rushed home. The hallway lights flickered as I climbed the stairs. I hesitated before knocking. No answer. I was about to leave when I heard laughter, muffled, but clear enough to freeze me in place. It was her laugh. Then a man's voice. My chest tightened. I stood there, completely still, my hand hovering over the doorknob. The rational part of me screamed to walk away, to not make a fool of myself. But curiosity, or maybe heartbreak, won. I knocked once. Lightly, silence, then the sound of movement, hurried whispers. The click of a door lock. When Emily opened the door, her hair was messy, and her face turned pale the instant she saw me. "Nate?" She stammered. "What are you doing here?" I tried to look past her, but she blocked the doorway. Her perfume mixed with something else, maybe cologne. "I called," I said quietly. "You didn't pick up." She forced a laugh. "I told you I was with friends." Her voice was trembling now. My eyes moved to her phone on the counter behind her. The screen lit up with a message before she quickly grabbed it and flipped it face down. I didn't need to see the name. I already knew, Emily. I whispered, my throat dry. "Who's here?" Her silence was answer enough. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. I just turned and walked away. My footsteps echoed down the hallway, each one heavier than the last. She didn't chase me. That hurt more than anything. By the time I reached my car, the weight of what I'd just seen hit me all at once. My chest ached, my hands were shaking, and my vision blurred. I sat there in the dark for what felt like hours, replaying everything, her words, her tone, her distance, and realizing that the woman I loved was slipping away, not because of some fight, but because she'd already found someone else to replace me. The next morning, she showed up at my door. Her eyes were red from crying. She didn't speak at first, just stood there, waiting for me to open the door wider. "Nate, please," she said finally. "Can we talk?" I stepped aside. She walked in like she had 100 times before, but now the room felt smaller, heavier. "I didn't mean for you to find out like that," she whispered. "So you admit it." She nodded, eyes down. "It just happened. I was lonely, and you were distant," and I laughed bitterly. "I was distant. Emily, you were the one who left every time things got hard." She started crying, covering her face with her hands. "I'm sorry, Nate. I don't even know what I want anymore." Her apology didn't feel like a confession. It felt like a release, like she'd finally said the words that would free her from guilt. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something painful. I still loved her. Despite everything, despite the betrayal, part of me still wanted to fix it. But love, I was learning, doesn't fix what's already rotting underneath. "I think you should go," I said quietly. She froze, eyes wide. "You're serious?" I nodded. "I can't do this anymore. Not like this." She hesitated, then picked up her bag and walked out, slower this time, like she wanted me to stop her. But I didn't. The door clicked shut, and with it, a part of my life ended. For weeks after, I tried to rebuild. I deleted our photos, packed her things, even changed my number. But healing wasn't as simple as forgetting. Every morning, I woke up expecting to see her lying next to me. Every night, I caught myself glancing at the door, half hoping she'd come back. Then one evening, she did, out of nowhere. She showed up again, this time, softer, calmer, with an expression I couldn't read. "I miss you," she said. "I made a mistake." Her voice broke, and for a second, I almost believed her. But the thing about broken trust is that it doesn't heal with words. It takes time, and even then, the scar never really fades. Still, I let her in. Because sometimes, loving someone means giving them one more chance, even if your heart already knows it'll be the last dot. And as I stood there, watching her step back into my life, I couldn't help but wonder, was this forgiveness, or the start of another heartbreak? At first, it felt almost normal again. Emily would come by after work, bring takeout, sit on the couch next to me like nothing had happened. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my day, and sometimes leaned her head on my shoulder while we watched old shows we used to love. I wanted to believe it. God, I needed to believe it. After everything, part of me was still that same man who waited by the door, hoping she'd come home. So when she did, I convinced myself that maybe people change. Maybe regret can turn into redemption. But redemption doesn't look like secrecy. It started small, a new password on her phone, quick exits to the balcony whenever she got a message, little lies disguised as jokes. One night, while she showered, her phone buzzed on the counter. The screen lit up just long enough for me to see the name, Ryan. My stomach dropped. I knew that name. Ryan was the guy from her gym. The same one she'd told me was just a friend. For a long time, I just stared at the screen, torn between the urge to look and the instinct to respect privacy, even though she'd already crossed that line long ago. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. The truth was sitting right there, glowing in the dark, when she came out, wrapped in a towel. She saw my face and froze. "What's wrong?" I shook my head. "Nothing." She studied me for a moment, then smiled faintly, that same smile she used when she wanted to avoid confrontation. It used to melt me. Now it made me sick. Over the next few days, the tension built quietly. Every word between us felt rehearsed, every laugh forced. We were acting like a couple who'd already broken up but hadn't said it out loud yet. One night, I suggested we take a break. She didn't argue. She just nodded slowly, like she'd been expecting it. "Maybe that's for the best," she said softly. That calmness scared me more than anger ever could. She left again. No tears, no pleas, just silence. I thought that was the end. But the end, I would learn, is rarely that clean. 2 weeks later, I was out with friends when I saw her again. She was across the street, sitting at an outdoor cafe with Ryan. They were leaning close, laughing, her hand brushing his arm like it used to brush mine. I froze. The noise around me disappeared. The world just stopped. That image, her smile, his hand on hers, burned into my mind. I didn't confront them. I didn't need to. Sometimes silence is louder than any argument. That night, I went home and sat alone in the dark, replaying everything from the beginning. Her first words, her pride, her lies, the way she always made me feel like I was the problem. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. She didn't want love. She wanted control. Emily thrived on being desired, on knowing that someone was always waiting for her, even after she'd broken them. I wasn't the only one. Maybe there were others before me. Maybe there would be more after. But I was done being one of her unfinished stories. The next morning, I packed the last of her things, the sweater she forgot, the perfume bottle still half full, the silver ring she once called her good luck charm. I placed them neatly in a box and drove to her apartment. She opened the door looking surprised. "Nate, what are you?" "I'm not here to talk," I said quietly. "I just came to return what's yours." She looked at the box, then at me. "So that's it," I nodded. "That's it." For a second, I thought she might say something, an apology, an excuse, anything. But she didn't. She just stared at me, maybe realizing for the first time that I was really gone. When I turned to leave, she reached out and grabbed my arm. "Nate, wait," her voice cracked. "I know I messed up, but I thought you'd always forgive me." I looked at her hand, then at her face, the face I once couldn't imagine my life without. "That's the thing, Emily," I said. "You never wanted forgiveness. You wanted permission to keep hurting me." She let go, slowly, I walked away without looking back. This time, she didn't follow. That night, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. No replaying old memories, no waiting for a message that would never come. Just silence, calm, solid, and real. In the weeks that followed, I started rebuilding piece by piece. I went back to running in the mornings, picked up my guitar again, even reconnected with friends I'd pushed away. Life felt unfamiliar, but in the best way. Sometimes, I'd see things that reminded me of her. A perfume scent on someone passing by, a cafe we used to visit, and I'd feel a soft ache, like an old scar stretching under new skin. But it didn't hurt the way it used to, because now I understood something I hadn't before. Love isn't about holding on tighter. When someone pulls away, it's about knowing when to let go, even if it tears you apart. Months later, Emily texted me again. Just one line, "Do you ever think about us?" I stared at the message for a long time. The old me would have answered instantly, trying to find closure that would never come. But now, I didn't need closure from her. I already had it, not in a conversation, not in a confession, but in the quiet acceptance that some stories aren't meant to end with happily ever after. So I deleted the message, set my phone down, and went outside. The city was glowing under the streetlights, the air crisp with early autumn. For the first time in a long while, I felt light. Not happy, exactly, just free. And as I walked down that empty street, I realized something simple yet powerful. Sometimes the greatest act of love isn't staying. It's finally walking away.